Hey everyone, this is Beth Barany, and you are listening to the School of
The
Fiction
School of
podcast.
Fiction.
Beth, it's so good to have you. It's a real pleasure. We spoke back in, I guess, in January to set this up. And of all the writers I've interviewed, you're the only one I've actually had the honor of meeting in person. As my wife Julie and I got to have dinner with you and Ezra in Manhattan. I don't know, so many years ago, but so you were in town for the RWA convention,
Yep, I
and
remember.
but I forget where we ate at a diner. I'm not sure which one it was, but
Yeah, it was like a classic New York diner. It was
yeah,
fabulous.
yeah.
Hmm.
So, like I said, it's really been a pleasure to know you all these years. And for those who don't know you, Beth is an extremely positive-minded person who runs a variety of creative services and courses. She's a creativity coach. She's an advertising and marketing coach, which we're going to talk about today. She's a novelist, and she's married to a novelist as well.
Hmm.
And she's making a film.
Yeah.
So Beth really does everything creative you could possibly do. Do you play drums?
Actually, I did play percussion in grammar school, high school, and in college.
Wow. You okay? Well, now that's next time we see each other, we're gonna jam.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I want to start off. Let me see. Let me do a screen share here. I'm going to share your website as soon as it comes up, and that is there's your website, and there we go. BethBarany.com, just BethBarany.com. And from here, there's so many things that can be done. See, tell me what I should click on here. I'm going to just show this page first.
Sure. Well, if people are interested in getting to know me a little bit better, they could click on the About section. But if you want to dive into some tips, I recommend you check out our Trust Your Heart Creative Roadmap. If you do open up the About section, you'll see me with one of our cats, Cinnamon, in a cute moment. We have two cats. And yeah, get to know a little bit about me. How come I didn't I got rejected from graduate school, and that's what really got me on my path to fiction writing.
Mhm. Absolutely. Now that I've seen this cat, I'm sorry. I'm going to come and take the cat.
No, no, you can't take Cinnamon. He's
Oh,
he's
no.
super cuddly and he drools.
Oh, okay. Well, I can think of worse problems. You have a
Yeah,
podcast, How to Write the Future.
that's right.
It's
Yep,
wonderful, and these are also on YouTube as well.
that's right. YouTube, Apple, Spotify, all the places.
But
Yep.
I have two friends who are podcasters in creative writing, and there's you and there's Kimbo York, who I haven't interviewed yet. So I'm just it's just an honor to kind of share and go back and forth with other ones as I'm trying to break into this business, although I'm just doing it on YouTube.
Oh,
All
that's
right. I'm also going to show your Amazon page here. This is just your novels and you're also your nonfiction books, with your most popular book being Plan Your Novel Like a Pro, which I loved.
oh good.
Here's another one that I know people are going to be interested in, is who are learning the craft, which is Overcome Writer's Block.
Hmm.
And also you have both fantasy and science fiction series.
That's right.
So the which is just really great. And I remember reviewing Henrietta the Dragon Slayer back in the day, and
Yeah.
the Writer's Adventure Guide is another one that I enjoyed reading. And you've written
Mhm.
some romances too.
That's right. I have
So,
five short, sweet paranormal romances.
so this is wonderful, and this is while you were busy with coaching and teaching at the same time.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
I really believe in being in the trenches. That is to say, it's my happy place to be creating things, and then the to go out and help writers. And it's really an interplay between the two, meaning they each inform the other. And I can't really be a good writing teacher if I'm not also being a writer. And I learn so much being a writer when I get to go back out and help others improve in their writing. And just like I'm always improving in my writing because of my critique partners and support team. So to me, it's a fabulous synergy to be both a teacher and a writer.
I would say similarly that when I started teaching literature, I began to understand the craft of writing better. I had been primarily a writer, and I had taken degrees in creative writing. And then when I started teaching college, then I was like, oh, wow, and things started to open up to me. So the teaching and writing synergy is definitely there.
Yeah, yeah. It's quite something to learn how to articulate craft and then take that new awareness that you've helped others have and bring it back into your own work. And it's helped me be a better writer.
Well, you have a course called Heart-Centered Marketing for Fiction Writers,
Yes.
and which I guess you give this course fairly often.
I've given it about, let's see, I gave it for the first time in the summer of 2024, last year.
Hmm.
Co-produced it with a colleague of mine who specifically works with romance authors, Danica Bloom. We tailored it to her community. Really, it kind of grew out of that conversation and based on an article I wrote years ago on the same topic with that same title. And then I've since taught it, I think, 3 other times in other people's community. And now it lives as a home study class. You can purchase the class and do it at your own pace. It's a webinar with some supporting materials, and it really gives you the principles. It doesn't give you like how to do something. It gives you the principles to think through so you can be heart-centered in your own marketing and really come from a place that's authentic, sincere, and also aligned, aligned with your values, aligned with your interests, aligned with your skills, and come from there.
And it had one of the things that it mentions is leveraging relationships with other authors, which is
Mhm.
something that I always have enjoyed so much doing. Kind of one of the reasons that I set up like this, as we were talking about. And so we're going to talk about a number of the features of this course today. And I'm going to start with something you described as the tacking approach to marketing, which the quick summary is making small adjustments while moving toward goals. So let's start there and tell us about this.
Yeah, a lot of people feel like they have to approach their marketing like all or nothing. And when they're faced with that, they often are frozen in inaction and they don't do any marketing at all. And they think, well, I don't have a big budget, therefore I can't. Oh my goodness. Hello, dinosaur. I'll see your dinosaur and I'll raise you a dragon.
So, you win.
Okay.
Okay. Keep going.
Okay, good. Okay, keep going. So, say you want to market your novel and you're a first-time novelist and it's your first novel and you think, oh, I have to have a huge budget and I have to do Facebook ads, but I don't know where to start and I don't have the budget. Therefore, I'm not going to do anything. Well, that's dumb. You know, I mean, we all feel like that. There's a lot of pressure in the culture to do these big swings and these big actions and these big, like I got to win big or go home kind of thing. And I disagree. Flatly, I disagree. You can start small, you can build your marketing muscles, do things that you enjoy, and take little steps out into the marketplace. And then new opportunities will open up. And then you'll learn, you'll gain confidence, and maybe you go off in another direction. And that's what the tacking is. It's like sometimes we think, hey, I want to get over there. I want to climb the top of the mountain. Well, we actually don't climb up. I'm using mountains now instead of sailing. We do switchbacks up the mountain. So same with sailing, right? You can't actually sail into the wind. You have to, if you have an opposing force against you and you're in the sailboat, you have to go sideways. You could still make forward movement. It's just not forward in a direct line.
Right.
So, and that's still progress. So I encourage people to think creatively, use your skill set and then take small steps, things you can sustain, things you can do on a weekly basis. Dedicate 1 day a week to your fiction marketing, which is how I handle it myself. To focus in on other things, all the other things. So I dedicate, a few hours every Saturday to my fiction marketing.
Well, I think the version that I saw of this back when I was writing romance under the pseudonym was have all these things ready on launch day. And when you launch, you have to hit really hard. You have to have this and this and this and this and this and this. And of course, it was that all assumed a big budget
Right.
because these were people who were trying to do it full time, and I was a part timer. I'm still a full time teacher, and I couldn't do all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it was, it kind of felt like, these people are serious and I'm not, and
Mhm.
it's rough. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're pushing back against that.
Yeah, and it's kind of like
Area.
right size marketing for your life and your goals. You're writing part-time, then put put a portion of your time into marketing. And, you know, it isn't the whole go big, go home. That isn't really sustainable, number one. And, you know, if you want to be a novelist for the rest of your life, for example, then you got to do it in a way that you can maintain and that feels good. I mean, especially us indie authors, we're over here in a little corner of the internet. I'm not, you know, I now have a big body of work that I can now learn to leverage and now maybe take out to the next level of marketing. But I couldn't have been able to even be ready for that if I hadn't been taking these little steps, little steps, little steps, building my writing, having more and more content to market and more stories, plus just getting confident,
Plus,
learning.
your
All
fiction, like your course, is evergreen. It's not something that this was trendy and now it's not trendy anymore, and now you can't do it.
right.
And now,
Exactly.
no, nobody's going to look at it.
Right. I
It's
purposely, or it's more like unconsciously, but also I realized over time, oh yeah, I care about creating a body of work that, you know, 10 years from now, the teenagers will be parents and they'll hand their Henrietta the Dragon Slayer to their child, you know, or someone picks up Janie 5 years from now and they're like, whoa, where I never saw this. And they go out and they devour the series, which by then will be hopefully, you know, 10 books, 12 books, 15 books, you know, because it's one of those series I can just keep going with
right,
my protagonist, my space
right.
station investigator.
Yes. Did you like The Expanse?
You know, I only saw the first episode and I saw all the parallels to my own work and I'm like, oh, it's too close on the one hand, but on the other hand, it was a little too dark.
Hmm.
So I'm just not into that tone, like the noir kind of thing. I don't do noir, so I do more cozy. Someone actually the other day said my sci-fi was cozy sci-fi, and I hadn't heard that before. But if I analyze it, I'm like, yeah, actually, you're right. And I watch a lot of cozy mysteries, British mysteries, American stuff. I don't want it to be too dark or scary or creepy, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
All right. Well, you are recommending that authors do cross promotion, and I just want to say, by way of introducing that concept, that my own comment on this, that authors should not be competitive with one another. And the reason being that people will read more books than there are authors. So there's no reason why if you cross promote, someone couldn't read your book and the other person's book. So, I'm not like, if I meet another author, we're not fighting. We want everybody to read both of them. And this is, I'd say, kind of a basis for my belief why what you're about to tell us makes sense. So
Awesome.
how do you recommend that authors make the connections and determine who's a good partner and
That's
find the right
great.
partner?
Yeah, finding the right partner. Well, often, I mean, I highly recommend that if you're in the editing phase and you're not yet published, that you join some kind of community, whether a local community at your library, a shut up and write type group, or an association that's in your genre, or all of the above. And there's national groups as well, and that you just make friends. You know, who do you like? Just like anybody, if there's folks that you would like to have coffee with, those are probably good people to cross promote with, even if they're in your genre and if they're genre adjacent. So I have a friend who writes romance. I know a lot of romance authors, and even she promoted my sci-fi mystery when it first came out because we're friends. And she's like, "Hey, check out Beth's new book," because I was starting a new series and I didn't know who my true audience was. So I kind of cast a wide net. Another friend who writes urban fantasy, CP Writer, she promoted me. Another friend who writes sci-fi romance, Lee Kirk, she promoted me. So because they were my friends, they gave shout outs for my books. And that was really, really helpful. The second thing so start with the people you know. That's what I'm saying. And even if it's outside your genre, especially if it anywhere intersects with the romance reading community, which are the most avid readers out there, they'll give your work a chance. They'll take yeah, they might download a sample. Who knows? They might even be the kind of reader that is voracious and reads across genre. So that's number one. Start with your friends. Number two, I use BookFunnel, but there's other tools just like BookFunnel. I pay a little money and then I join these online group giveaways that are happening all the time. So your job, if you sign up for these, is to promote them in your newsletter, and then they will promote it as well. And there's like 30 authors, or 15 to 30 to 40 authors all promoting over like a month's period of time. And that way I get my book covers in front of lots of people all the time. And I'm ongoingly promoting the science fiction or fantasy or PI, detective or women protagonists. As long as they fit my genre, I'm promoting. So I give away book one for free. Now, this is hard to do if you only have one book. And in that case, I would say do affinity relationships and work with your local community. When Henrietta the Dragon Slayer was first coming out, I actually went onto Facebook and I asked my Facebook friends who had a teen who would be interested in reading this book, and I will ship the book to them for free. So I gave away 30 copies of book one that way. And that way, it wasn't exactly cross promotion. So I'm sorry, I'm going into another angle. It's like, what do you do if you don't know people who are in your genre? So over time, I did get into these one-to-one cross promotions as well as these group promotions. And there's other companies too that will do bundling of promotions. Author XP is one where you pay a little money. It's like advertising, but you get in front of your target audience, which is the whole idea here. And then other kinds of cross promotion could be, actually, that's not exactly it. I was going to say my dad walked around with bookmarks. One side was my book and the other side was Ezra's book because we both put out our first novels the same year. So
Yep.
I mean, they're very different genres. His is contemporary thriller and mine was YA, young adult adventure fantasy.
Mhm.
Um,
I
and
read them both that year too. Yeah.
yeah, wow, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, the other cross promotions are like book fairs. That's a kind of cross promotion where someone is running a local book fair and you work with other authors to have a table together, or maybe the Writers Club has a table together, that kind of thing. That's in-person cross promotion. Um, yeah, does that help?
yeah. Oh, well, absolutely. You meant these there have been resources like this over the years, and there are some that we used back during the indie author bubble, let's say, before when Amazon was promoting indie authors more. And then there's some that were like Book Funnel that I remember when during my couple of years that I was pseudonymous romance author, right, that try to use some of those. They change all the time. They don't persist. So it's definitely necessary to kind of be on top of that and have your finger on those things. And so to know which are the ones that are working now and which are the ones that are still active. These Book Funnel, I do remember having some kind of connection with it, and I don't remember the details of what actually happened with it. So it's good to know that one is still up there. Now, on your course summary, you mentioned focusing on creativity as a marketing superpower.
Yes.
Let's go to that because anything to do with
Okay.
creativity excites me.
Okay.
I'm a creative who got stuck in the classroom, as we know. But if you say creativity, my bald head goes up. So
Yes.
tell
Good.
tell us
Good.
about this one.
Yeah, well, obviously, creativity is what led each of us to write our stories and bring us into the story worlds and work so hard to be good storytellers. And and so we have this muscle. I'm assuming we have the muscle that says, what if? What if this? What if that? What if I had my character do this? What if they did this? What if this happened? So let's apply the what if tool to marketing. Well, what if I went to my local bookstore and asked if they could stock my book? What if I found, 10 friends who weren't writers, but maybe they're readers and got them to put their book into the book club, or nominate my book for the local book club? Or what if I went to the Rotary Club and talked about something related to my book? Or what if my hobby, I could intersect my hobby with the themes of my book somehow and write a blog post for the hobbyist website and mention my book? That is something over here, a little bit adjacent, but still, I got to talk about herbs. And then, oh, by the way, I'm a thriller writer, herbalist by day, thriller writer by night, or vice versa. You know, what if someone heard about my book and they bought 10 copies? Oh, who could I sell 10 copies to? Or, so you see what I'm doing here is I'm just generating ideas. about marketing. And in your case, Matt, I would say like, and now to take, instead of saying what if, the other exercise is what would it be like if? That's very similar, right? What would it be like if we took your interests, your hobbies, and your strengths, and we combined them somehow with getting the word out about your book? Like what are the things that you're super interested in, and where's the overlap with things that could resemble book marketing? And we start to just mix and match. Again, lots of different combinations. I don't know about you, but when I'm generating ideas for stories, I'm like, I generate a lot of ideas until I find the one that makes me go, ooh, wow, that's the good one.
Mhm.
So to me, that's play.
Well, I'll tell as an example. I try to promote this YouTube channel, but I'm not really actively promoting it except with hashtags and Facebook. I'm just kind of waiting for it to grow organically. So one thing that I just noticed was interesting is if I just see something when I'm walking around, I'll make a YouTube short out of it and put it on my channel, even though it's off topic. And I got 700 and something hits on a video of some guys putting up flags on the front of my high school, which has
Okay.
nothing to, I was like, wow, these are brave guys.
Uh-huh.
And, then I looked at it in that evening and it had 700 views. I don't
Hmm.
know why.
Yeah.
I didn't even put a hashtag on it. It just says
Yeah.
brave guys was the title, and for some reason that worked. So
Hmm.
this is I think kind of in the vein of what you're talking about.
Sure.
But throwing stuff at the wall to see what will get
That's right.
views. Yeah,
Yeah.
mixing
Yeah.
my metaphor there on purpose.
And
Yeah,
also what you're pointing out too is like what interests you. That's what's interesting. That what draws you in could draw some other people in. What and you never know what that is. And neither do any of the experts. That's why yeah. I mean, don't get me started. I've
yeah.
heard so many people in the film industry and in the book industry and in the arts, they'll say, we don't know what's going to hit. And that's why you see a lot of derivative things because they go with what has already hit. I'm like, oh, let's tweak a little. But anything that's risky and new, we don't know. We just got to try a lot of things.
As a warning from me, do not blame this on Beth if you don't like it. People will come out and say, "Oh, well, we can guarantee you this and this. We're going to get you hits. We're going to get you sales, and so on, so on, so on." They are marketing their services, not you.
Correct.
They're trying to, they're claiming they can do all these things when the reality is that they can't do them.
Well, there's no guarantee. It's a fallacy and it's like a pipe dream. And we've all been taken in by that. So, I mean, the only thing that I see really works is that you keep trying new things. And I've interviewed successful writers who go up into the six figures, and one of the things that they do is their willingness to try new things. They don't just wait to see what happens. They go in there and they tweak and tweak and tweak. And the really aggressive ones, they work with the numbers, they work with the data, they really pay attention. So I don't always pay attention to the feedback in marketing, but then I'll wake up and oh, what's the feedback? Oh, people are liking that. Oh, that's interesting. And you can take it or leave it. I get a lot of feedback on my fiction itself, but when it comes to marketing, it really is driven by what I'm interested in doing, which is how I operate.
And one thing that I've noticed, and I'm going to pivot just a little bit to another question on our list. When I go in with my students, I did personality tests and stuff, plus
Mhm.
observing them.
Yeah.
And the level with the students that I have, the level of introversion is over like 90%
Hmm.
of my students
Wow.
who did a Myers-Briggs. I know Myers-Briggs is somewhat considered old-fashioned or discredited, but they agreed with that result that they were
Okay.
introverted.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I'm an odd case. I guess I'm sort of an ambivert because I'm introverted in the sense that I get energy when I'm alone, which is a
Mhm.
standard introvert trait. But I'm also maybe son of a fundraiser or whatever it is because I'm a professional teacher. I don't dislike going and meeting people and talking to them and building connections and so on. So I wouldn't be doing Zoom interviews if I was uncomfortable with it. Yeah.
Right.
So, but there are a lot of introverts in the authorship community. So I know you have some advice for those for whom introversion might perceive it as an obstacle, how can they go ahead and build those connections when they're feeling uncomfortable with the process of reaching out to strangers?
Yeah. So if we're still talking about like building networks with other writers and
I
cross
think, yeah.
promotion,
Mhm.
yeah, then really, again, you want to start with the network that you already know. Uh, and in fact, I built my whole business on warm leads. Well, I know people now find me online, but at the beginning, I only found clients through connections. So that's only warm connections. So I would talk to someone who I knew because of a networking thing, and then they would pass me on to somebody else. So also when it came to marketing fiction at the beginning, like I said, I started with my Facebook friends. I didn't start with strangers. I started with people that I had met, or often, on Facebook, your connections are friends of friends. So that's considered a warm lead. So if you're an introvert, start with the people you know and know well and you trust. In business, they often talk about know, like, and trust. You need to know, like, and trust the people that you do business with. And for introverts, that's especially the case. I mean, I think it's the case for everyone. It depends on the business model. But I started with Facebook friends. So start with the people that you know. Maybe they're friends from high school, maybe college, maybe your work people, and maybe they're your family and your friends of your family. Start with the people that you know. When I work with introverted authors, what I find out that they love is they love to create things, right? Just leave me alone, let me create, right? But if you remind them like, oh, you could create memes, you can create videos, you can create little written pieces, that's what's interesting. So a lot of introverts I notice do that. And when it comes to cross promotion and making connections, uh, I keep coming back to starting with who you know, and then asking for referrals. So who do you, like I'm doing that in the film business. I'm asking, well, who do you know that can do this? And who do you know that can do that? And then they'll say, oh, I worked with this person over here. Here, let me connect you. So when it came with fiction writing too, well, I'm not that shy, but I reached out. I found this author I really loved, and I reached out to her, and then I found out that she was friends with another one of my friends, so that like made the bond even tighter. Um, and sometimes yeah, so that's what I do. I've been writing authors since I was a child, so
Mhm.
yeah, I'm definitely on the ambivert slash extrovert side for sure.
Mhm.
So I hope that helps. It's like you don't have to go outside your comfort zone. You can just lean up to the edge of it, or you can stay with the warm connections because you know so many people, but the people you know also know so many people, and some of them you don't know. But if you had someone introduce you, a good friend said, "Hey, I want you to meet my other friend over here," and connected you, now hopefully that's a warm lead. That's a warm connection.
Now, I'm going to improvise a question here, if I may. When I was more active with this sort of activity, I did run into some people who didn't follow through, or I ran into people who would just ask me for help and not do anything back. So how can we protect ourselves against the people who are more going to use us and not reciprocate? What-
Yeah. Well, you need to set up the rules really clearly, right? Like, I'll do this and you do that. Okay. Okay. Like, you can't go into it expecting reciprocity. Actually, sometimes it isn't reciprocity. Sometimes it's I'll help you and then you help someone else because maybe someone helped you, some stranger helped you, or somebody helped you. So it isn't always reciprocal, but if it is going to be reciprocal, then be clear about that. And life happens. We all know life happens. Not everyone can follow through on their commitments. And I see it all the time. People say they're going to show up for a call with me as a writing coach, and they don't. This is people who haven't yet hired me. The people who hire me show up, um, and that's okay. They're not ready or whatever. Maybe it's just not the right time. So we have to also respect that people have their lives, but we gauge people. I'm not going to if I agree with a friend to do an exchange, I have to feel 100% about it, and I want them to feel 100%. If there's any kind of I'm not really sure, then I'm like, okay, we don't have to do it. Like I don't want to have agreements with folks who aren't 100%. I much rather, or sometimes people are like, well, I'm not so sure I can reciprocate. And I'm like, well, I can do X and leave it at that, you know. So,
I'm going to make a general suggestion here, and then you can comment if you wish or not comment. I have found that while exchanging beta reads works very well, that the standard advice not to exchange reviews has proven to me from my earlier experience to be good advice because almost every time that I did make a deal with that, the other person didn't do it.
yeah. Yeah. And
So
actually, I used to be a professional book reviewer, and I categorically refused to review anyone's work, mostly because I don't have time, but also I actually am a developmental editor. I really don't have time to read people's random people's books. Now, I will spontaneously review a book I really love, but not out of reciprocity. That doesn't work for me.
yeah,
Yeah. So
I'm saying just yeah. So then I think we agree,
yeah.
but maybe we have different reasons. But
Yes.
this just as a general point of advice
Hmm.
that reciprocal book review trades are going to be disappointing.
Mostly, yes. I much rather like give someone a book and ask them for a review. Like that's, I've just given someone something. If they are say they're going to do it and never do it, well, take my chances. It's a digital book. It's okay.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Beth, this has been wonderful, and my Zoom time is running out, so I want to first of all hope that we have additional sit downs like this. And second, I think I want to finish on the most positive note. I'm going to ask you this question to share us a success story. Success story is always a good place to end, and I do want the viewers of this to wind up being like, "Yeah, I want to go do that." So,
I
yeah,
mean, I can think of a lot of things that I've done that created positive responses, especially in person. Having fiction with me when I teach writing is always so fun because people will pick up Henrietta the Dragon Slayer or Janie, the first Janie book or whatever, and they'll hug it to their chest and they're like, I want this one. So it's just seeing the real reader response to my work is so amazing, so
I,
gratifying.
I have a story like that. I've done
Yeah.
exactly one book reading. I did it at a bookstore in Brooklyn, and it was the kids. It was although the book was kind of the Ghost in the Crystal. I think you read it is a YA magic book. Kids showed up, and I remember a kid saying to mom, "Okay, can I have it?" And the mom's like, "Well, okay." And I was like, "Oh, that felt
Yeah.
so good." To have a
Yeah.
kid actually interested after I sat up there with my bald head and my dyed beard and started reading a chapter about how the north wind came to the guy's house.
Hmm.
And I was like,
That's
oh,
great.
thank God the kid was interested.
Yes, I
So
think
I still remember that. I mean,
yeah.
obviously that's only one copy, but I still remember that as a
Well,
sign that maybe I didn't suck.
that's right. That's right. I'll remember how it was when we were kids and we're reading the book and that we love and we're totally engrossed in it. And isn't that the world? Didn't that mean the world to us? And if we as authors, so here's my inspiring message, if
Yeah.
we as authors can touch our readers like that, where for the time they're reading, it's like vital. The book is their world. It soothes them. It brings them joy. And for the time they're reading the book, and maybe afterwards they have something because of the story that we created. And I think if we keep that in mind, that's our end goal. Our end goal is to bring that experience to the reader, then have courage, take a little risk in terms of learning how to market your work to find ways to get it out there. Be creative. It doesn't have to look like anything you see online today. You can do things in person. You could do things with your family members. Be creative. Think of fun ways to get the word out and don't give up.
That's great. Beth, we're going to wrap it there, but only because I'm running out of time, not because I would never get tired of talking to you. But
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, I just want to say thank you, Matt, for having me on the School of Fiction. Everyone subscribe, and follow Matt for more fabulous episodes at the School of Fiction.
The School of Fiction.